From MZ Studios in Dallas, Texas, you're listening to the Tennis Revolution podcast.
Man, I try to bring heat coming in off of that music. I'm beat today.
You are?
I am beat.
By this amazing weather we're having?
Well, listen, spend 10 minutes out in this and it'll destroy you. It's brutal out here.
I couldn't spend 10 minutes.
No, I actually went to a comedy show. Our friend of the podcast, Joe List, was in town at a comedy club in Fort Worth, and I went to go see him, but I couldn't work it out until the 10:30 show.
Oh, geez.
So show,
that's why you're moving slow today.
The show starts after my bedtime.
Well, and 10:30, that's probably not him. That was probably the opener, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they had a host. It was fantastic. He's a local kid, a guy. He's older than me, I think. No, he's not. He's younger, but still. And then a New York guy was the feature, and then Joe List being from New York. So I got home about 2 o'clock.
Gosh.
a.m. I don't understand why humans do this to themselves.
See, I'm often up till 2 a.m., but I'm never out till past midnight.
A huge difference.
It is. Because you can't just go home and go straight to bed ever.
No, I did. I fell onto I didn't even make it to the bed. I just fell asleep on the floor.
See, that's my problem. If whatever time I'm home, you're going to definitely add at least 2 hours.
And by the way, at a comedy club, typically, there's a 2-drink minimum.
Really? See, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so you pay
I found other clubs have those. Comedy clubs have those.
You're $15 to get in, and then you have a 2-item. I should say 2-item minimum, but obviously most people is 2 drinks.
Right.
I had 2 drinks as well. 2 bottled waters. That was my minimum.
$5 each.
Yeah, that was fine. You know, supporting comedy, whatever. But yeah, I wasn't going to drink and do all that and get, I have to be sharp and ready for this.
That's right.
Broadcast. Oh man, so I'm dragging. So you're gonna have to really pep it up.
Oh geez,
there it is. Look, he did it already. It's incredible.
On me for the energy level.
The pep is in his step. It's unbelievable.
I'm excited because Nick Kyrgios saved tennis this weekend.
Right before he tried to ruin it. So let's not get crazy here. All right.
No, he saved it because now I have someone to hate and I can actually watch. It's great. It's like Tom Brady in the NFL. You need somebody like that.
Well, typically we'll try to go one section men, one section women. The problem is the women did nothing.
Right.
Nothing this weekend. This week.
We almost had an American winner. That was about it.
Sophia, what did I say? She's too small.
Yeah.
No, she's going to be able to do some stuff, but It's not going to – she can't hold up against, the power of the ladies these days.
Yeah, it's funny how she just kind of – we're starting to hear her name a lot, but we'll see if that means anything.
Yeah, because nobody else is playing.
I was going to say, it's not a marquee event. We won't be hearing her name next week with Indian Wells.
Now, I'm sure it's lovely weather and everything down there in Acapulco, but listen, in deference, hey, I get one word in every week. In deference,
it's usually the same word.
No, not even close. In deference to those that really celebrate women's equality and do so very loudly on Twitter, I will say it is a little off-putting when a tournament is a dual-gender event, and it's not that the prize money is slightly different, less or more, because I don't care about that. Who cares about, But when it's, a higher-level tournament for one gender, and why even bother for the other? I mean, I think
that doesn't make any sense to me.
The women's purse was like $58 and a used lipstick, if I may be so sexist as to assume that women need lipstick from time to time. That's the only thing I don't like about it, because first of all, even if we wanted to watch the women, there's no chance because the broadcast is not going to show, no offense to Sophia Kenin, they're not going to show Sophia Kenin.
Yeah, I think I saw 1 or 2 matches the whole week on the Tennis Channel because you had, marquee names.
And it should have been that way.
Right.
Because the men's tournament was so much bigger, but it's almost like, why do you put them together if you're not going to take advantage of having broadcast opportunities back right next to each other, showing, just adding depth to our viewing, the product.
Well, and maybe, was that why it seemed like the hours were so weird? Like, it seemed like the men's matches were on so late. Is that because they were playing the women's matches earlier and then they put the men's on later? Or because I don't think there's much of a time difference, but it seemed like it was so late there always.
I don't know.
But yet the women's matches were never on. So they were at the same facility, I presume.
Right.
But it just...
Acapulco is the same time zone as Texas.
Yeah, and so they were starting the matches.
Here.
Most matches were starting at 11, 12 o'clock, the final matches.
I think every time zone should be the same as Texas. That would make everything a lot easier. Kids going to school in Australia in the middle of the night. Yeah, so what?
They're cooler. They might like that.
America.
But yeah, it was... Yeah, it made the women's, like, you almost wish there wasn't even a women's tournament because it was just so...
How dare you, sir?
So much worse.
Yeah, and we know, we're looking at it, and we know because, come on, we're high-level broadcast journalists. But, average everyday fan is looking at it and saying, why aren't they showing the women's?
Right.
Acapulco is a what? Yeah, I don't even know what level it's called. An international...
Yeah, we've already gotten all that. Who knows?
$250,000. It's so.
Yeah, and I don't know why, like you said, if they're going to combine them, why not just make them both higher level? Like, what does it matter?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it has something to do with the WTA. I mean, it's their schedule. They can't just...
Yeah, they can only have so many.
Yeah, and they grant those tournaments. But, I mean, the men's is a 500.
Right.
That's not a nothing.
Right.
I mean, the draw was a nothing, but it's not a nothing.
That was a decent draw.
It was okay. I know. It was all right.
That was another thing we talked about. We had two 500s, so if you had combined both the draws, it would have been amazing. But instead, they were both, pretty good.
Yeah, and I think for the players, particularly the big three, they like it because they can unofficially stay away from each other for another week. And Dubai is Dubai. I mean, Federer has been going there. I mean, that's his thing. So they've been friendly to him, and vice versa.
He has a house there, to me, it was funny to have Acapulco be on hard court. Like when I think of that term, I always think of it as on clay, and I know it's always been hard court.
There's no reason for it to not be clay.
Right.
It's in Mexico, and it's preceding the clay court season.
Well, and we have a hard court. You have two hard court 500s, which I've said doesn't make any sense. If you had a clay court 500 or a hard court, that to me makes a little bit more sense, although neither really makes sense. But
yeah,
I could understand why they want to get ready for Indian Wells next week, I guess.
Well, I mean, you are excited to talk about Acapulco.
Yes.
Is that fair to say?
Yeah, even with Federer in Dubai, I thought that tournament was much more compelling.
Well, I didn't know if it was the Nick Kyrgios tattoo on your chest or the fact you came out in here with no shirt on. Either one tells me you're excited to talk about Acapulco. I'm actually over the moon excited to talk about Dubai. How about that?
Well, see, the problem with Dubai, we had the exact same outcome we always say that we hate.
No, I know. I know. Just hold on to your britches, sir. Because we never disagree, because I'm always right and you tag right along, which is wonderful. But can we stir up a little disagreement here? Or are you just being a tongue-in-cheek saying, obviously Kyrgios didn't save tennis, but do you find that his run in Acapulco, by the way, which became famous from what show?
I thought you were going to say Neil Diamond, so I don't know.
The Love Boat.
Is that where they went?
That's, I guess. I can't remember. It's the 80s, man.
Yeah.
I just wanted to sing. That's my real future. That's really what I'm going for.
No,
For the first time, I'm going to go back and listen to this podcast to hear how it sounded.
Yeah.
That was great.
He is the player I'm most interested in going in Indian Wells. And again, I'm not a Kyrgios fan.
Not just for car wreck reasons.
Normally it's only for that. This next time it's more than that. To me, what was the most interesting was seeing every player.
Well, hold on. Slow down. I want to try to build up this hatred we're going to develop for one another. So So
That's
out
been
of the
building for years.
So Dubai, you do feel like, okay, same old, so we can talk about it. There might have been some good matches along the way, but hey, it's still Fed winning.
Yeah,
Dubai.
I would say, it was very predictable and same old.
And then Acapulco, you feel like, uh-oh.
It was like totally chaotic.
Here's
and
something
wild.
different.
Yeah.
Here's something different. Old John Deere, Bass Pro Shops hat wearing MAGA country Isner didn't win. Is that what you're happy about?
Yeah, exactly. And
all right, so Acapulco, go ahead and tell us what went down in Acapulco overall. Just sum up the week.
Kyrgios beat 3 top 10 players and Wawrinka en route to winning the tournament. And
who, by the way, I will concede in terms of your argument, I will concede that I think Wawrinka is maybe Wawrink. He's almost 100. He's almost 100%. He's just missing the A. So he's Wawrink and not Wawrinka. But I mean, he didn't have a tough road, but still.
He does need to get seeded though in these bigger events because that's going to make a big difference. He's having to battle real early. But yeah, I just what I thought was most interesting was the fact that Kyrgios was doing the most ridiculous, just everything. And yet every player seemed to succumb to it in one way or another.
So am I wrong to say that he is an absolute a-hole? But more importantly, because yes, the answer is yes. So you're about to answer, but hold on. that goes without saying.
No, I don't think you're wrong to say that.
But I will tell you what it seemed like to me this week. He just said, I'm all in on being an a-hole.
Yeah, he reminded me this week of like a visiting NBA player.
He wasn't fighting it.
He was
it
just
was like
please boo me when I make this 3.
I'm going to be this guy.
Right, which I think
makes a big difference, I think.
Well, I think that's really great to do that in a team sport when you have home and away. I don't think it works in tennis to antagonize the fans.
Right.
Now, unless you, like, maybe if you're American, you got a ton of tournaments in America. Like in Australia, you got like 2. So you can't be a fan favorite 2 weeks a year. That's going to be really going to beat you down after a while.
The alternative is to understand you have fans, but then be dumbfounded when they don't come out and support you or aren't vocal or there is opposition to you and not understand why and fight it.
And I didn't get to hear his press conference or his post game. I wish I did. I had heard he was pretty cordial, but I kind of wanted to hear if he was going to continue that. I was hoping he would. I was hoping he would say, well, thank you guys so much. You really supported me all week. Like, couldn't have done it without you. Like, totally sarcastic. I would have loved that. But no, I just thought it was amazing that he was doing so many things that threw the opponent's luck. Like that match against Nadal, I don't know if you saw it, but at one point he just tossed the ball up and served. Nadal wasn't even looking at it. I wasn't even ready. And Nadal was like totally complaining. They had to replay the point. It was like a big ordeal. And I'm like, you know what I've said? I'm like, good. Nadal doesn't get to walk around for 10 seconds and adjust his shorts. And like he should get to serve whenever he wants because that's how it's supposed to work.
Now in college, the rule is the server and the returner get to take the entire time.
Really?
Yeah.
I never knew that.
Yep. So there isn't.
I wasn't using that in college. That's a
well, you played
regret.
pretty fast.
I know. I could have been using all that time.
The son doesn't agree with you, and so no. So in college, both players get to take the full time. Of course, the goofy, almost contradictory rule in professional tennis is you have to play at the server's pace if you're the returner.
But yeah, you can't serve till the returner's ready.
Which doesn't make sense.
Right.
So what's going to happen to Nadal? Is he going to get a time violation if he's not ready?
Yeah, nothing ever happens. We know that.
Well, they don't even they have the shot clock now.
Right.
But it doesn't matter if nobody's at the ready to return, then he can't return. So
and in Nadal's defense, he is putting a lot more effort than most players into his point. So if he wants to go towel off after point, I'm fine with that. I don't like it when somebody gets aced and then goes and towels off.
Yeah.
I'm like, you didn't do anything. Right. You can walk to the other side.
That's ritual, not need.
Right. But no, he did that. He was doing the crazy drop shots out of nowhere. He was doing the tweeners that made no sense. And he would just give points away randomly. And I know, tell me if you agree with this, but to me, the hardest player to play against is a player that doesn't look like they're trying. people say hardest player to play is someone who's injured. To me, that doesn't bother me. But playing someone who doesn't look like they're trying.
Playing somebody that's injured, I think that is one of the most overused cliches.
Yeah.
It's so hard to play a wounded duck.
I don't agree with that.
No, it's not.
Yeah, I've never agreed with that.
Because if you're limping around and you can't run, you can't just turn it on out of nowhere and be 100% in a second.
Right.
If you're semi-tanking
Yeah.
or whatever, Kyriosing, whatever we call that.
I like that. Let's make that a verb.
If you're doing that, then you can lull me into thinking, okay, I'm just going to spin it in. I'm just going to get balls deep, and he'll spaz.
Well, because here's what's happened. You'll do the same thing that works 5 times in a row, and then do it the 6th time, and he decides he's not going to let it work that time, and you just get amazing winner past
and you have
you.
right.
And then it's like, well, that worked the last 5 times. What do I do now? So that seemed to happen to everybody. It reminded me of that Djokovic-Monfils match where in the slam when Monfils was just like lounging around, and all of a sudden Djokovic started making errors out of nowhere. And Monfils won a set, I think, and was even up in the 4th at one point. And they were like, he acted like after it was a strategy, which totally it wasn't. He just thought he had no chance. But Djokovic lost focus. So I think that was what was happening this week. And then in the final, he was focused all the way through, and Zverev was overpowered, I think.
Yeah. Well, again, we talked about the next gen, the next gen, the big 3, and then the big everybody else, whatever the rest of the big 4 is.
Yeah.
And there's like 5 big 4s.
Right.
Which doesn't make sense, but just focus.
Well, those 5 for 4 add up to the other
one total. Right, exactly.
Not even, but
so the big 3 plus, well, yeah, they kind of do because some of them have 3.
That's true.
Some,
Wawrinka,
so
Cilic,
they get in the mix. They get close.
Murray, you're right. If you include Murray, then you're right.
Of course, I'm right. So you have the big 3, which we know: Fed, Nadal, Djokovic. Then the big 4 means the 4th spot is a conglomeration of Delpo, Cilic, Wawrinka, Murray, Delpo,
Berdych, maybe.
Yeah, but he's never won anything.
Right.
But in any event. So, and I think Kyrgios is sort of that Berdych. He's not the next gen.
No.
He turned pro before the rest of those guys did.
Well, he was maybe the first next gen they started talking about when Federer and Nadal were on top.
Well, he definitely was sort of the next, this guy's super talented.
Right. But he's in the age range of like team.
Except the fact that he's not.
Well, and it probably helped him, honestly, the fact that he played 4 huge name players in a row because he was super motivated in all those. We've seen him when he's played, some no-name that's ranked below him. He doesn't care. So I think that may have had a lot to do with it. He's got like a 500 record against the big 4.
Yeah.
He's 2-0 against Djokovic, I just found out this week.
I guess he is kind of next gen. Him and Zverev both turned pro in 2013. So he's So I guess he would be considered that. But again, your contention this year is that he has sparked something in you deep inside. But that it's like he's sort of shown you something, that the possibilities. And I say, slow your roll. He's still next gen. They've all
right.
done this a time or two.
Oh, and I don't think he's gonna. Now I mentioned to see if he does, but I still don't think he's going to. Like, to me, the most likely outcome of Indian Wells is for him to lose in the first or second round
to Isner.
But I think if he were to make a semifinal at Indian Wells, I would say, wow, he's like turned it around, and this is interesting now.
Well, here's one thing that I often do that I'm going to admit to on this podcast because, first of all, I care about the fans, and I care about you. I don't, but I will certainly take credit for a player who starts out as a freshman in college as a hothead or has whatever, maturity issues, and then by the time they're a senior, they're playing their best tennis.
Yeah.
But you got to keep in mind, they start college at 17 or 18 and finish at 22. And guess what? There's some natural, just, nature taking its course, so to speak, maturity that comes along with just going from that age of 17, 18 out of high school to a senior in college. And so to some degree, maybe that's where he's starting to go. However, his behavior didn't change. Just how he handled it changed. But that could be all the difference.
Well, and let's just say he saved 3 or 4 match points against Nadal. If he loses one of those, we're not even talking about him.
True.
Because then he lost second round of the tournament.
And
big
breaks
deal.
his racket. And same old.
That just shows you how fine the line is to winning the tournament, getting 500 points, to lose the second round.
And it's a fine line the other way, too, for the most part, except the fine line never gets crossed by any of these next-geners.
Right.
Really, and some of them, they get up to the line every now and again and get nowhere near the line many other times.
Yeah.
And so that's where I wasn't sure you were going, if you think this is a real indication of something to come. One thing you have in your favor is every single day, every single match, the big three get older. And I don't mean mathematically,
We've thought
course.
that for 5 years, though. That's the problem.
Right, but I'm just looking at it thinking, all right, is this tricking Corey into thinking maybe,
Well, here's my problem with him. I don't think he's ever going to be in the top 50 in terms of work ethic.
So he's not going to be the one that's going to stave off the next gen,
right?
In my scenario,
but at the same time, imagine if he did become top 10 in work ethic, he'd have to be a top 5 player. Like Roddick, that was one of the reasons Roddick retired. He said, "I cannot work any harder than I already work,
and I'm
fading now. My ranking's fading,
right?
So I can't work any harder." Whereas if Kyrgios gets to 20,
come back, Andy. You could be top 30 today.
And he says, "Hey, I'm 20 in the world, and I'm doing 50% of what everybody else is doing. What if I jump that up to 80%?"
Right.
But like you said, that would require maturity and
I don't know what kind of work he does physically. I have no idea, but he does none in terms of emotional control. None.
Right. Well, he doesn't even have a coach. I don't think it has in years.
Crying shame.
And so that's the other thing. And the other part is I don't think he's ever going to care as much as the top 50. And somebody said, "Oh, you can tell how much he cares. He threw his racket." I said, "That's not an indication of." I said, "There's two different things between caring and." To me, caring means putting in the effort to get the results you want. That's caring. Everybody cares when they're on the court.
Everybody cares that they look like an idiot in front of thousands of people and millions on TV. Everybody cares that it's not going perfectly how they want it. That's not what he cares about.
But I mean, if I go play,
anger does indicate that sometimes.
Right.
Anger certainly does indicate that a player does care sometimes, because you do put in all that effort and you've built up that sort of credit. So once it doesn't go your way and it's a tight match and, you make one bad choice and you're mad about the whole thing. But I don't think throwing your racket after the first game indicates your maturity level and how much effort you put in.
Yeah. When if I go play golf tomorrow, which would be the second time in about 5 years, and I hit my first shot in the trees and throw my club, that doesn't mean that I care. Yeah, I cared that I did that, but that doesn't mean that I'm trying harder than I ever was before, or that I really want to win.
I think we're going to play golf tomorrow. If it wasn't 24 degrees for a high.
But yeah, I'll put it this way. I am interested in a player, and I haven't been interested in a player in a while. Tsitsipas I'm interested in long term.
So let me just So I am not reading it correctly when you were excited about Kyrgios in relative to the grand scheme of things. You're more excited, hey, at least we got one tournament, one more tournament out of the few that we got to see a payoff for this kid's talent and his ability level, as opposed to here we go again. What a waste. And it's really an empty feeling when he's out there on the court and does nothing.
Right. And that's what it's been the last few times he's played. It's like I've watched him and I was excited and I didn't get what I thought I was going to get. So this time I got what I thought I was going to get.
And we did. Yeah.
But I really got more than I thought I was going to get, so that makes me optimistic for the future.
Well, I hope you listen to this podcast, and I'm going to DM it to him on Instagram this episode, because here's the thing. I don't hate any player. First of all, as we've discussed before, I don't know these people. I don't know them.
Right.
I've met some of them. One of them did go to TCU. I have a connection to TCU.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know that guy. I don't know Cam Norrie.
Right.
But I'm cheering for him just because of the connection.
Yeah.
But I don't know any of these people, so I don't dislike or like any of them personally. I probably not like any of them personally.
And even if you meet him, you still don't know him. Like
And
the
even
friend
if
I know met Kyrgios, she doesn't know him.
Exactly.
He was friendly to her for 5 minutes.
And now she's the biggest fan ever.
Right.
Oh, my God. It's pitiful. But what you just said in terms of him, Nick Kyrgios, not living up to what our perception of him is what causes the issue.
Yeah.
Because we want to see people take full advantage of a skill or God-given talent or whatever it is that we may not have. And it's like, you son of a...
Right.
If I had that, I would, we kind of live that way through him. And he disappoints in that regard all the time. But if you step back and say, hey, he's a tortured young man
Right.
inside for whatever reason. I don't know his business. I don't know what he's been through. But certainly if he's one of those type of guys that's been handed everything because he's been so talented since he was so little, then of course he's going to be like this, or anything else. I mean, anything. I don't know what his life story is.
Well, and I think people, if he retired tomorrow, I don't think anybody would be mad. Now, a lot of people would be sad and say, oh, that's depressing that he's retiring and could never get together. But right now, it's like more of an anger. Like you said, it's this guy's out there, and he's obviously so good, but he won't do, the minimum. I shouldn't say minimum, but what the vast majority of other pro players will do.
He won't take advantage of the gifts given.
Right.
Ungrateful. He's
so
ungrateful.
That makes us angry. Him quitting, not even going out there, that wouldn't make anybody angry. Just say, okay, well, if you don't enjoy it, why are you doing it? That's what I tell everybody that I coach. I'm saying, if you don't like this, don't do it.
I don't tell anybody I coach that. They'd all quit. No, they love me. I'm great. I will say as a coach, though, I can see him in players I've coached. Not you, sir. Not you.
I was max effort all the time, baby.
Yeah, because you had zero talent. So you're quite the inverse.
If I never learn a real backhand, does that mean I don't care?
I've seen you mouth the F word on a court, though, and that was last week.
That's right.
It's quite funny. But yeah, so as a coach, I'm looking at Kyrgios, and I get a little perturbed because I see, because he's not doing anything. It's not like he's doing some amazing new thing no other human's ever seen.
Right.
I've seen a Nick Kyrgios on a team more than once.
Yeah.
So it's not an amazing thing he's doing. And furthermore, he can come out of it.
Right.
But he's got to get in there and really look at himself and make the decision to do it. Or what he's decided to do is jump right into the deep end.
Yeah.
Both feet, which is fine. I don't, whatever. That's his business. But if he accepts the role of being the villain, I think he'll have a lot more fun.
Yeah.
I think he'll experience a lot less pressure.
And I'll love that in tennis because we need that.
Exactly. But he's not doing it to be a brat. He's doing it because he can't control himself. And he's like, well, hey, I can't control my emotions. I can control this, though.
Right.
I can be a jerk within reason. Let's not be smacking little kids when they ask for autographs. But, that kind of thing.
Well, and I don't think we haven't gotten into this yet, but I don't think he did anything ever unsportsmanlike during the match. During any of the matches that I saw. I mean, the underhand serve got some debate online.
Nope. Is it within the rules?
Yes.
All right.
And by the way, did it go in? No. So why are we even talking about it? He didn't even make the serve.
Right.
And we're talking about it. And Nadal's out of the screen, and he's doing an underhand serve. But what's funny is if he'd have done that overhand 10 miles an hour, nobody would have said anything.
Right.
Because it was underhand, for some reason, it was inappropriate.
It doesn't make any sense.
And I'm not... But I feel the same way. If I had played somebody that does an underhand serve, I do feel like I feel sort of insulted, and I don't know why.
Because you're mad because he just pointed out I'm slow as dirt. Or in Nadal's case, he's pointing out you take this ginormous risk that nobody's figured out how to take advantage of.
Yeah.
And that's you put your butt against the back wall to return these big serves. And for some reason, no one... If I played Nadal on a regular basis or coaching a player that played him on a regular basis on clay where he backs away, I'd say drop shot all day.
Well, because even if he gets it, you got a hell of a lot better chance of him being at the net with you than in a baseline rally.
No, you're exactly right. So
who cares if he gets to it?
Now you're going to assign, you could possibly assign, motive. Why did he do it?
Yeah.
But if he said, if it wasn't him, if it was somebody who was quote unquote a lesser player that maybe never had a chance to beat Nadal, and he's just out there with a notepad and drawing different angles and thinking up different strategies, and then he does that, and then somebody asks him after the match why. Well, listen, he's so far back. My serve doesn't have a lot of power.
Right.
He's really hurting me every serve. I had to get the ball below the net. I had to get him moving forward instead of stepping into the ball and all this other stuff. It would be wonderful, and everybody would cheer the guy for being a genius.
Right.
Kyrgios does it because he's an a-hole.
Yeah.
And people call him an a-hole. Fair enough.
Yeah, and I don't know what the strategy is there outside of just getting him to come in, like you said. If he's going to stand that far back, why wouldn't you do it? And I thought it was pretty funny that Federer defended him, but I can't ever see Federer doing that, ever.
No.
Because he's so confident in his serve. And I think that's why Kyrgios doing it was a little bit, he's like got an amazing serve, so why does he need to do it?
Yeah, well, if you got Nadal standing 75 feet back.
Yeah, outside of just, like you said, to mess him up.
Right.
Which, again, that to me is the number one thing you need to do when you play Nadal, and Kyrgios did that throughout the match. He never let him get in a rhythm.
Well, some other things besides Kyrgios, because I do think if some of the things come forth to fruition that we've talked about, like Nick Kyrgios embracing the bad boy and just getting after it, that'd be wonderful.
Yeah.
The other thing that mattered to me in this tournament was Wawrinka just working his way back.
Yeah.
And again, another example of somebody that's not next gen. He's part of the big four, and he just leapfrogs everybody.
Right.
I mean,
in a matter of months.
I mean, he could fall off a 100-story building, and in 6 months he'd be top 10 again. I mean, so he's starting to come around, which is good. And I think he may not be able to beat the big three, on regularly, but at least he threatens them, and that adds to the depth and makes me happy.
Well, and you had to feel really good about Zverev until the final, when he just didn't put up much of an effort.
Don't feel good about Zverev ever at all.
Well, he goes in the final, and that was the other encouraging thing about Kyrgios. Kyrgios played long. Every match he played was really long.
Yeah, but who did he beat, though?
So this means Zverev beat no one.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm thinking. Kyrgios going in the final, he's played these marathon matches against these big-name players. He's limping around like he's got to be exhausted, and in the final, he looked like normal. I mean, so he's got to be in better shape than we think.
How unbalanced did that draw seem? Good Lord.
Well, Kyrgios, that's probably, I bet that's, if not the best, the hardest draw anyone's ever won a Masters on.
Maybe.
It's got to be close. Or not a Masters, a 500.
Yeah.
Because you beat 3 top 10 players to win a 500 and a multi-Grand Slam champion on top of that with Wawrinka. So I can't, and Zverev didn't have to beat anybody till the final and didn't beat anybody.
Didn't beat anybody, yeah. So, all right. Well, good sales pitch on your tournament. But I'm going to destroy your, well, that wasn't really your argument, but that's what I'm setting it up as for the purposes of drama.
Yes.
But we're going to talk about why Dubai mattered, even though the result was exactly the same when we come back.
It's time to join the revolution. Go to our website, tennisrevolutionpodcast.com, to get the latest episodes, email us your questions and comments, or give us show ideas.
Dubai, baby. And by the way, does anybody care about the Brazil Open? It's a 250, which is not nothing.
No,
but
it's on right now. We're not talking. Oh, no, it's over, I guess.
Yeah. Clay court, for some reason. We're in the mini hard court season. I don't know why we're playing clay. Yeah, Pella. Pella wins his first ATP Tour title in Sao Paulo, Brazil, at the Brazil Open.
Oh, that was his first title? Nice.
Yeah, look at that. So there's something.
Well, and it reminds me of the old days when you had these clay court specialists, doing something. Like I was, let's say this again so you can make fun of me, but I do fantasy tennis. And so I'm looking at these players I can get for the French that nobody has, and it's like, I'd bet nobody has him on their team, but it's
Right.
like, should I pick him up just for the purpose of the friend to see if he can win a match or two? But that doesn't happen anymore. There's like, of the last like 10 years, I can think of one guy, like Cecchinato was one of the only guys of recent memory who kind of came out of nowhere and made it. And I think he only made the quarters.
Well, here's
or
the
something.
thing. We get clay court specialists, but they don't get that far
They
anymore.
don't. That's
so,
what's crazy.
I don't know what it has to do with. Maybe slowing every other surface down. I don't know.
Or
but
is it just, it could just be that everybody now is a baseline player.
that's
So you
probably
don't have the baseline specialist anymore because everybody's a baseline specialist.
right. So the ground strokes are not as flat
Yeah.
anymore, so they're not skidding through on these surfaces.
You don't have the certain volleyers getting crushed like they used to on clay.
Yeah, maybe. Well, and there's such a separation because I think it's hashtag the weakest era.
Yeah.
Or hashtag weakest era is the hashtag I'm hashtagging, and I don't even know what that means. Does that have some connection to the whole trending situation?
Yeah, I think it's
Okay.
trending usually is a hashtag, right?
I guess.
I think when it's trending, it just means how many people have used.
I'm
that
asking a
hashtag.
guy with no Twitter,
And yet I might still know.
and I'm a guy who doesn't know how to use Twitter,
Right.
so it works out.
Yeah, trending. I would assume that it takes a certain number of people to put the hashtag in their tweet for
Yeah.
it to be trending. But that's what's funny is because people can hashtag whatever they want. Like
Right.
it could be hashtag bologna sandwich. It doesn't matter what you hashtag. But I guess if just a lot of people are hashtagging it, then it's trending.
Well, hashtag weakest era is what we're going with from now until forever. This podcast, basically. But anyway,
But you're going to talk us into why it's not. Maybe
Sao Paulo over. Good. We don't talk about that.
they got their 1 minute.
There we go. Dubai, baby. Now, what we had is the 1 seed being Kei Nishikori, right? You've heard of him.
Mm-hmm.
Somehow got by the effervescent Benoit Paire in the first round.
Squeaked by.
Squeaked by 4-3, so kind of. But no, we had Roger as a 2 seed, and
Going for his 100th title. Blah,
going
blah,
for his
blah.
100th title.
Was anybody excited about that but him, by the way?
All the stupid videos from
Commentators.
players saying,
Oh, I didn't even see
"Hello,
that.
Roger," in their dumb languages.
Congratulations on your 100.
Well, not their dumb languages, all in English, but their dumb accents and congratulating like anybody cares. So they have to be more sick of it than I am, talking about how great Roger Federer is.
Hey, would you come film this video, like talking about how much better this guy is than you? Oh,
Exactly. That's all right. So that's not why I don't.
Sure. I hope
like
they
him.
got paid, which I'm sure they didn't.
No. It was all Instagram or like they all did it themselves, I think.
Yeah,
I'm not.
I mean, if he's a nice guy to them, then that's deserved. That's fine.
And at some point, they just have to admit, yeah, I'm not getting 100. I'm not getting Tsitsipas in the post match, like the ceremony presentation for the trophies for the Dubai singles. Said something like, I just hope to get to 100 wins, much less 100 tournament wins. He laughed. He's a goofball, which he's the boy version of Osaka.
Yeah.
Just goofy.
Well, and Isner just got 400 wins,
Total.
and Federer's got 100 tournaments. That's quite a big difference.
A few.
Yeah.
No. But each of those tournaments, he had 25 rounds.
Yeah.
So nothing. I don't know. That wasn't even funny. I apologize.
Um,
All right. So what we had Dubai and Federer. They might as well change the name of the tournament to the Federer Open.
right.
And he wins it. And so you're thinking, well, my goodness, it's a milestone. We see that once a week.
Right.
He wins a tournament over a bunch of chumps. We see that once a week.
Yeah.
Well, when he plays. And so how possibly could Coach come in and think this is amazing? I'll tell you how. Stefano Tsitsipas is the truth.
Yeah.
I watched him quite a lot, and that fella is the truth. So now he turned pro in 2016. So he's 20 years old, and
So he's definitely next gen.
he's the first Grecian?
Yep.
No.
Greek.
Okay.
Grecian's the hair
is
formula.
Yes. You remember that.
That's what Federer's using now.
Hopefully. So he's next gen. So he's my hope.
Right.
So if he leapfrogs and gets up to like 12 Grand Slams, I win.
I was going to say at this rate, he only might need 6 or 7.
Well, yeah, because he's going to pass all Murray and below.
Yeah.
Exactly. So anyway, so he'll be the big 4 by himself. He'll be the 4th greatest of all time, apparently. So he's in that next group. So, and everybody matures at different, paces, both physically, emotionally.
Well, that's why you've always said it's not based on age; it's based on when you became pro.
Right. So, but I'm watching him, and first of all, he's a pretty big fella. He's like 6'4",
Yeah.
6'3", 6'4", with the hair maybe 6'8", like that Fletch. Nothing. So he, by the way, his dad's his coach, which, whatever.
I don't think I even knew that.
Yep. So 2016, next gen, and I'm watching the kid. He's a big kid, but he moves fantastically.
Oh, yeah.
Fantastically. And I think it stuck out to me this tournament more so than before. And why is he moving? I'll tell you why. Because he can do everything at any part of the court.
Yeah.
He's got his serve, no problem. Forehand gets a little, error prone sometimes, but still, he's a youngster.
Yeah.
But it can be huge, and he can also shape it. He's got a 1-E, which is wonderful, and he's got a more turned over grip, it looks like, than Federer, so it's closed a little more, so he can get a little heavier on his backhand. More like Wawrinka, or in an extreme case, my favorite player of all time, the Frenchman.
Gasquet.
There he is. You know who I'm talking about. He's got an extremely,
Right.
Western one-hander.
Yeah.
And so he's good on both wings. He can also improvise, groundies-wise. He's all over the place. And he's really, maybe it's because everybody else is horrific, but his volleys, his net game, it stands out to me.
Well, and what is impressive to me, too, especially for a young player, is that he actually goes in on the right shots and covers the right spots.
Right.
So it's like, having good volleys are one thing, but you got to be able to get up there. He actually comes in when he's supposed to. Because you'll see him come in a lot, and they'll miss the passing shot, and it's like, wow, it didn't seem like, that was that great of an approach, but it's because he stood where he's supposed to stand. He hit the approach where he's supposed to hit it. And in other words, he makes them hit the most difficult shots on passing shots. And a lot of those guys, they just run in haphazardly and they have no idea. When that's what Kyrgios took advantage of. He was hitting just drop shots and they were coming in randomly and hitting it right to him. So he would be my number 2 in terms of players I'm most excited to see Indian Wells. Kyrgios, then him.
So why Kyrgios versus why is Kyrgios ahead? All right, so let's finish talking about before we get sidetracked. That's what we always do. But
yeah, we can save Indian Wells.
So Tsitsipas loses in the final, which on the surface you're like, well, of course,
right.
But the difference is he hasn't done it 57 times in a row, and he did just beat Federer,
right,
at the AO.
And Federer,
Australian Open,
was the most of any opponent. That's the most motivated he was, I'm sure, to play him. Meaning that was the match he cared about more than anybody else he could have played. Yeah. Whereas Tsitsipas was more focused on that top 10 ranking, probably, which he got the match before.
So here was Tsitsipas's his path. So he played Matt Ebden, Australian.
Yeah, who's all of a sudden back in the top 60.
Right. 3 sets. Then he plays somebody, a qualifier from I don't know where, Gerasimov. So he's from Belarus or some country like that. Then he plays Hubert Hurkacz.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's quite a draw so far.
Either way, it's inappropriate. So then finally he gets somebody, Monfils, who has been balling this tournament.
He has been,
He played well this tournament. Shorter hair. Apparently he's in love.
Oh, with the tour player?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Svitolina.
Is that who it is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I'm married.
That was a brutal match.
I'm married, which is why I'm not heartbroken about it. But anyway, so he had a tough one against Monfils, 3-setter, 4-6, 7-6, 7-6. So, I mean, it was...
And I think he saved a couple match points.
It was drawn out. It was a tough one. And then, of course, Federer, which was 4-4.
Right.
And so, he played 3 sets, pretty straightforward.
And Federer was getting pushed earlier, but the way he plays now, his matches are just not grueling by design.
Now, he did have a tougher round. I mean, he had Verdasco, he had Kohlschreiber, Verdasco, who were OGs, but still.
Yeah.
And then he had your favorite men's player, Fuchsovix. Is that how you pronounce it?
No, the way they pronounce it is Fuchsovix, which is
disappointing for you at best.
Yes.
And then he played Borna Coric. What do you think his least toughest match of the entire tournament could have been?
Well, I know the answer.
Borna Coric.
Yes.
The next Jenner.
Yeah.
Who just got smoked 2-2. Oh.
Well, and again, he was motivated for that match because I think he beat Federer last year once or twice. And that's the only reason I said I was disappointed in the outcome is that what nobody has done in the last 15 effing years is beaten one of the big four and backed it up when they played him again.
Although we're lumping him in based on he's not the big three,
right?
And he is part of the group that didn't do it again, but he hasn't been a person that hasn't done it again. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and he's not in his prime yet.
Exactly.
These guys have done it their entire careers. They haven't been able to do it.
Exactly. And I hate to get all goofy because people do this on TV. I was thinking this as it was happening, and then I push it out of my mind because it's childish nonsense. But I felt it, so I want to share it. During the trophy presentation of the singles, he was talking about how Tsitsipas was talking about how he was watching Federer as a kid when he was like 6 years old, a lot like Federer did when he played Sampras. And I was like, well, there it is. That's the reason Tsitsipas is going to be the greatest ever.
Well, he just seems like he actually gets it. I mean, it's like I just don't feel like I think he still enjoys playing. You can tell he enjoys playing.
Tsitsipas.
Yeah, he just doesn't. He has an all-around game, too. I mean, there's so many reasons to like him and to see a bright future with him that you don't see in some of these other guys. I mean, look at Tiafoe after his big run. He's lost first round 2 tournaments in a row.
Yeah, which, as an American, I'm like, wow, I'm bummed out. But as a tennis fan, I'm indifferent. I mean, the only reason I pull for him, he's an American.
Right.
If Tsitsipas was American and Tiafoe was from Greece, I'd be, wow, this is the next great American. I wouldn't be, nobody be forcing all these Americans. Jack Sock is really going to, what? Wait, he's 200 and what? So.
Well,
yeah.
and someone, this is harkening back to a few weeks ago, but a few people I knew were so upset how bad Tsitsipas lost in it all at the Australian. And I was like trying to explain to them, I'm like, he beat Federer. I'm like, do you understand that people don't beat Federer in slams? And certainly not people under like 20.
Right.
I mean, that just doesn't happen.
And
so to expect him to beat both, that just never was going to happen.
And somebody who's been watching him since he's 6 and he's still learning. Now, 2 years from now, if they're both still playing and both Nadal and Federer playing at a high
top 5 in the world.
Well, yeah, of course. And he beats him. Then I think he'll be more in a position to handle it emotionally because you come off that high, it's hard to get hyped back up.
Right.
Back to so yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think he beat somebody remember he beat Bautista after Federer, so that was what we thought was impressive is that he did, after his biggest win of his career, came back and won a tough match.
Right.
So he's done so many things different than other people have done.
So which this is the worst phrase. I hate everyone that says it, but I'm going to say it. The eyeball test. Oh, yeah. God, I hate that.
I do too.
But with that being said, just as a coach, I think to some degree the eyeball test is merited because I put my eyeball on players a lot.
Right.
Not literally. That would hurt. I probably wouldn't have any eyes left. But just watching him play and watching all the pieces and kind of looking at what he's got to offer, he's the truth. And guess what? They've said that about everyone.
Right.
I haven't.
No, I don't either.
I haven't. And so I am actually predicting that this one's the truth. And out of all these youngsters, now I haven't seen enough of FAA.
Yeah, he's looking pretty good.
Felix Auger-Aliassime.
I did get to see him last week. I didn't get to see him much this week.
No, I just mean the breadth and depth of results that we've seen with Tsitsipas.
Right.
So I haven't seen a lot of him, and so it's hard to sort of compare in that regard because he's kind of in that same, age range in terms of coming up. He's a little bit younger.
Yeah.
and he may be next. I mean, he turned pro, 2017, so he's sort of a year behind. He's 2 years younger. So physically, he's going to fill out at some point, which is going to help him tremendously.
Right.
Because he's a pipsqueak, man.
He's so thin.
He's a youngster. I mean, he looks still childlike.
Well, and the reason I hate that term eyeball test, like you said, if we took the 128 players in a slam, like you said, and took away who they were, there's no way you'd be able to rank them anywhere close to what they actually are.
Great point.
Because that's so little to do with it. So to me, eyeball test, you're not really saying eyeball test. You're looking at somebody and
I'm looking at evidence in a match that I was watching.
What they do
with my eyeballs,
more their decision making, their all that. So, but yeah, not basing it just on results is what that means basically. Which he's got both. I mean, he's got the results and
he's starting to pile them up. Yeah. So,
and I think people are going to say, well, of course you think he's going to be great now. He's top 10 in the world, but it's like you said, everybody who's top 100 that's under 20 gets hyped up so far.
Zverev has been 3 in the world for how long now? I don't think I'm picking him to be anything.
So who's winning a slam first between those two?
You mean how many will Tsitsipas win before Zverev makes it to a final? When do the big 3 retire? Djokovic is winning the slam this year.
Yeah, that's what we've said.
And then next year,
I'm willing to give Nadal the French at best. Djokovic is winning 3 minimum. So you're taking nobody but
Zverev is 3 in the world.
Yeah, and he can't make a semi.
I don't care what anybody says. If I'm sitting here saying that I'm picking Tsitsipas all of a sudden out of nowhere, Isner's been in the top 10 for however long.
Right.
Team is 8.
Yeah.
I don't care about any of them. Any of them.
And I don't think either of us are going to be shocked if those 3...
Kevin Anderson is 5? What are you talking about?
I haven't seen him for months.
Ridiculous.
But those 4 you just named, I don't think either of us would be shocked if they won a total of 0 slams for their career. We would be shocked if Tsitsipas didn't win slams.
I'm predicting that Tsitsipas will win a Grand Slam tournament before any next-genner. Coric, Thiem, Zverev, even big, even like the KAs and
Raonic
and Nishikori, the ones that are just a little older.
Anybody but Big 4.
Big 4, which is the 3 plus the 5 guys that equal the 4th.
Yeah.
Those guys and Tsitsipas.
Yeah.
Anybody younger than Tsitsipas and anybody in between those two, not.
Yeah.
Tsitsipas is the only. He's like Neo. He's the one. He's the one. Does that make me?
That reminds me of an article that I read that said, should Keanu Reeves have an Oscar?
Does that make me Morpheus is the question.
See, I never liked
those
movies.
By the way, that's the Matrix in case anybody doesn't know.
I never liked those movies.
The first one was fantastic. The other ones, whatever. But the books were even better. No, I didn't read the books. I don't know if there is books.
I was going to say, I didn't know there were.
There's no chance I would have read them if there were.
No, I am inclined to agree with you. I totally see him being the next big thing. And I think we're both partial to one-handed backhands.
Not the next big thing, because that sort of engenders like, not gender, but, that he's going to be like the Zverev or,
Right.
No, he's the next real thing.
But see, we never said or thought Zverev was the next big thing.
Right.
People do.
I'm actually going out. I don't ever make predictions, so I'm going out on a limb with Tsitsipas.
Yeah.
But he's the one that's going to prove that we were right. # weakest era.
I don't see anything in his game that means he can't. Zverev has a lot of deficiencies in his game, despite the fact that he's 3 in the world. Mental game and strokes.
There are people on my Division III team that have better volleys than he does.
Yeah.
And I'm not telling a joke.
Right.
It's insane.
Which that's what I thought was funny. Kyrgios drop shotting him. I'm like, that is actually a player that makes sense to drop shot all day.
Yes.
And he actually used it less in that match than he had in the others.
Insanity. Yeah. I mean, there's so many people that are better at volleying than he is, and many of them aren't even on the tour.
But yeah,
So that's, to me, is why Dubai was way more important than Acapulco. Although, for excitement short term, the Kyrgios story now has just taken an uptick.
Well, that's what I mean. To me, he's going to now be seeded in the next few tournaments he plays.
Right, so he's going to be fireworks.
Right.
But Tsitsipas is now a slow burn.
Oh, yeah.
He's going to be a campfire. He's just going to stay hot all night. Sorry. Many people think he's very attractive. Listen, I wouldn't know. But he is like a campfire. He's going to stay hot all night.
Well, I think the reason I'm excited about Kyrgios is because, like I said, who knows? He could play this tournament, not play again for 6 months, or not win a big match for the next 6 months. So for Tsitsipas, I'm excited to watch him play the rest of the year anytime. For Kyrgios, I'm only excited about the next tournament because who knows what happens after that. I'm not excited about Kyrgios in Wimbledon. He could be off the tour by then, or injured, or back in his doldrums. Who knows? So I'm just excited to see, can Kyrgios actually for 2 straight weeks, keep it together?
Well, it just gives me joy and hope seeing Tsitsipas and really, hey, I'm putting it on the line, baby.
But what was it about this week? Because it wasn't that he made the finals. It was just that you saw him.
I think I've seen him more all in a row.
Yeah.
And paid attention. Because we haven't been able to pay attention to anybody.
Well, the slams, they don't let you watch anyone except the Big Four.
There's been so many to quote-unquote watch.
Right.
That it's like, okay, he's finally stood out to me, I guess is the way to put it.
I would love to have, Tennis Magazine from the last 10 years and see, players to watch.
Yes.
Or, and I probably have those magazines. But, yeah, to say, players to watch or up and coming and see how many of those, just did nothing.
Yeah, and we need a sound effect from a 80s game show when they lose.
The whammy
or whatever it is.
Pressure luck, the whammy sound.
Because, I think they would be a tremendously wrong.
And again, part of it is their job to hype up players and get us excited about them.
Yeah, we do this once a week and we just jabber for an hour.
Yeah.
They have to write art, fill pages.
Yeah.
Monthly.
Well, everybody wants. That's the thing about us. I think people are so eager, they want to be the first one that identified this player. I knew it when he was 16. He was going to be, number one in the world.
Yeah, there is something to that, but only from a fun standpoint. I don't think if I say this is the next great one 417 times in a row, if I get it wrong all the way up until the 418th, that doesn't make me a genius.
Right.
I would rather lay back in the cut and just observe what happens and say, wow, he really came from out of nowhere, or she, from the women's side. But yeah, I was just happy. I just had a smile on my face watching Dubai for that purpose. And I think it would have been a fairy tale for him to win again at Federer.
Totally.
And plus, after all the 3-setters he had, it would have been tough as well. But because he's got a much bigger body dragging around a court than Federer's 6'1".
Federer has learned how to just make points so short.
Yeah, but 2.5, 3 inches taller. He's a big boy dragging around the court.
Well, and to me, the other positive of Tsitsipas, and watch me jinx him, he'll lose first round anyway else, but he doesn't lose early in tournaments. Neither of us will be shocked if Zverev loses first round.
And that's one of the things you've been talking about for quite some time, that indicator that this cat can lose to anyone.
Right.
What is it? What are we doing?
Even Halep, as great as she is, she will lose first round. That's why we never talk about her being the next legendary player. To me, that does separate the highest level of players. Because, when's the last time have you seen Federer, Djokovic, or Nadal lose the first round of a tournament? It all lost
outside
second round.
of a wacky draw. Wawrinka, if he would have come back unranked and kind of matched up. But, in the current seeding format, one for four, where they they seed one every 4 players, you get the good ones spread out. And then, since it is the weakest era, some of those seeds are even worse. Right. Yeah, and so you're definitely hard-pressed to see anybody outside of injury, these big 3, lose to somebody. Even like Kevin Anderson types. They don't either.
Well, I think Federer lost second round. Again, who knows how long this was. Could have been 2-3 years ago. But I remember saying it was the first second-round loss he'd had in a slam since 2001 or something. So you're talking about 16 years he went without losing in the first 2 rounds of a slam.
Yeah.
And you just, and to me, that's what Tsitsipas, he's always going to be a factor in the tournaments, and that to me makes it interesting. And that's how you develop a following, too. Like, Kyrgios can't develop a following when he's not in half the tournaments, and half the ones he's in, he's out first, second round.
Yeah.
That's what makes it hard for these new players to generate interest. Even Thiem, I feel like he's out early in a ton of tournaments. You never see him at the deep end of the tournaments unless they're clay.
Yeah. Well, Kyrgios, I mean, the one funny part or fun part about that is that the sort of, I mean, he's not officially the head of, but he's the face of Australian tennis.
Right.
Is Leighton Hewitt, who used to be sort of an a-hole. And I think he was a little mischaracterized as an a-hole.
I think he was just competitive.
I think he was super competitive and didn't give an inch.
Yeah.
And the whole thing with James Blake, again, I don't think that was racist. He was accusing to other people of being racist.
Right.
Which, how that becomes racist, I don't know. But, they've got some jokers over there. I mean, Tomic
well, what's funny
and
is
Kokkinakis
I feel like
are idiots.
Australia was known so much for, like, sportsmanship, tradition.
Sure.
And now, yeah, you're right. Look at their top.
I mean, I'm not even going back to the 70s, but think about, Rafter.
Yeah, he was such a gentleman. Never had any issues.
And now we have Kyrgios, Kokkinakis, and Tomic. I mean, De Minaur seems like a nice dude, right?
Yeah, and Ebden, I've never heard of any issues with him. Yeah, but it's just kind of funny. And yeah, they're all, well, Tomic's not young anymore. He didn't have that excuse. But by the way, there's something they never talked about. You know how Kyrgios lost to Tomic match point in January?
No.
Tomic hit an underhand serve for an ace. And so he did that, no criticism whatsoever, and then Kyrgios does it exactly like what you said. Of course, Tomic is not even well-liked. But Kyrgios does it to Nadal, and all of a sudden it's a big issue. So Kyrgios just had it done to him like a month ago. And he saw, like, oh, this guy just aced me.
Did he like, make a face
Not
about it at all?
He was laughing. He went up and shook hands. Now, that was an exhibition tournament. It was that Kooyong.
Yeah.
So, maybe if it was a bigger setting, he would have been upset. But
yeah. Well, I think wasn't quite the disagreement I was hoping for, but slight difference of opinion on what's going to happen. But I think we're still pretty closely aligned on looking at it.
Well, I think what you're saying is you're fine with the tour being in the hands of Tsitsipas.
What I'm saying is this podcast is taking a turn. We turned the corner now, and I no longer need to hate men's tennis.
Yeah, whereas I'm saying I'm not going to hate it next week because of Kyrgios.
Well, what I'm getting at is, yes, Tsitsipas is going to be the lead player for everyone younger than him, and hopefully there'll be some people that can come behind him and fill in those gaps for depth. And boom, one by one, they're going to start replacing those Zverevs and teams.
Yeah. And
those guys will be relegated to 15 to 30 for the rest of their careers.
So we need a Kyrgios Tsitsipas first round at Indian Wells.
How dope would that be?
Well, that would probably be bad because Kyrgios would probably win somehow and then lose next round. They'd both be out.
Yeah, hitting tweener serves.
The second week.
Underhand tweener serves. Again, as long as it doesn't bounce, it's legal.
That's right.
Oh, man. All right. What do they got to do? What do they have to do out there? What do the fans need to do? I'll tell you what they need to do. They need to spread the word. We should have at least 3 million listeners a week. That's what I think.
Is that all you're asking?
Yeah, I think that's enough.
It seems reasonable.
There's 300 million people plus in the U.S. Plus we have international fans. So 3 million is not, out of, I don't think it's out of bounds. But yeah, so spread the word. Find the link on Twitter at Tennis Rev Pod. Follow us there, and then retweet the link. Share you can cut and copy and share it on Instagram because we don't send out pics. So you're gonna have to do that for us. And then download it. Obviously, listen to it. You're subscribing to it. Hopefully, not just downloading it. And then spread the word. Spread the word out there. We do have metrics on the back end of our hosting company that gives us by state and by country on where people listen. And so I'd like to see some healthy competition in some of these big tennis states and some of these big tennis countries. So, spread the word. Follow us on Twitter at Tennis Rev Pod, on Instagram at Tennis Revolution Pod. And again, you will get nothing. I think people don't get that or don't believe me because we had 200 at one point on Instagram, and it's been dropping. And I don't understand.
Again, yeah, because we've done, like you said, exactly what we say we're always going to do. Give you nothing to look at.
No, that's not true.
No bother.
Yeah, no, 200. I don't think 200. I think it was 120. It was 200 on Twitter.
Yeah, I was thinking we were up to 150s or 160s on Instagram at one point.
I don't know. I make this stuff up as I go. Yeah, so follow us on Twitter. That you will receive actual content on that. Basically, you will get episode links both to YouTube, which we're on YouTube, we're big time, and you will get links on our normal iTunes or whatever for that. So. Anything else? No corner? I think we've corners gone. I'm letting you talk more by accident.
That's right. We don't need the corner anymore.
We don't need the corner. You got your own
I've got my own square.
Got your own room.
No, my corner would definitely be Kyrgios. As I started it, I spoiled it right away. Kyrgios is saving men's tennis right now.
Oh, my God. Hey, whatever it takes.
I would totally love to see Federer Kyrgios. Kyrgios and anybody. I just don't want Kyrgios to flame out early. I like to see how players, this is one of the things I've always loved about sports, is seeing how the best players react to something unusual.
Yeah, especially in tennis.
Yeah, and they failed this week.
Yeah, so.
But it's like in golf, watching the players have to play in a 30-mile-an-hour wind or, so to me that's what's interesting is.
Right, how Nadal reacts when people kick his water bottle over. I got it.
He was arranging those meticulously on a changeover of a tiebreak.
Yeah.
I'm like, what does it matter? I don't
it's funny, the similarities between him and Borg. It really is. All right, well, we've rambled enough, and then we stopped, and then we started to ramble again. So follow all the things. Find us on Spotify. We're on Spotify now. Apparently that's a big deal. I'm not sure what it means.
We're on everything.
Stitcher, iTunes, all of it.
YouTube.
Go find it. Google Play, YouTube.
You can find our podcast at iHeartRadio. I told you that. I found it there, too.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Wow.
We're everywhere.
We're everywhere. It's frightening. And you know what? Just come on into the studio and let's do it live if you can't. If you don't have a smartphone and you just do that, it's fine.
Yeah.
You just can't talk. We'll turn your mic off. But come on in. One fan at a time. That's how we're growing this thing. Getting one fan in the studio at a time. So, all right. That it?
That's it.
Thank goodness. All right. Well, thanks for joining us. And again, thanks for joining the revolution.
Bye, guys.
Tsitsipas.